Welcome to Portugal, welcome to Portimao for round 9 of TFL as we begin qualifying here in the Algarve at a racetrack which recently made its debut in Formula 1. 2020 first race at this circuit was held, and of course it was not regularly scheduled on the calendar, but due to some pandemic, it was scheduled to be on the calendar for 2020, and 2021 saw the return of the track. It is not currently on the F1 2022 calendar. It's a shame, I think. I think this is a great circuit, and maybe we haven't seen the full potential yet in Formula 1. But on the game, it proves to be a cracker of a race. And I hope we'll see that in this session as well. So, championship standings. Heading into this round, TFL Davy still leads the championship by 9 points from Black Box, from IFR Black Box. Then in P3, it's Julian, 25 points behind Davy. So Julian can get past Davy in the rankings, but a miracle for him has to happen if he wants to pass Davy. It's more likely, if anyone will pass our championship leader today, that this man's teammate, IFR Milan's teammate Black Box, who's still in the pit lane, is the man that can do it. The first driver to go for a hot lap, Turkish driver Yagizan with the number 13 AlphaTauri. Let's go on board with the Turkish driver. He opens his DRS for a pretty long straight that goes into turn 1, pretty reminiscent of Hockenheim turn 1, if you say so, if I say so myself. Then it's flat out to turn 3, Lagos, and then we head towards the first DRS detection zone. DRS open and on towards the hairpin, tight hairpin. A lot of lockups at this place, so expect some moves being made there. And then just an awesome part of the track, the up and down section of Portimao, absolutely amazing to drive, if I say so myself. Then left, right, and then down the hill, and that ends our first sector. He misses the yellow curb on the inside, and that's purple sector 1 from Yagizan. TFL Charles has set a lap already. I didn't notice him going first, but it's a 17.9. So Charles once again at it, with being the first one in qualifying to set a lap time. But I think Yagizan will be faster on his first hot lap. Purple and purple, where will Yagizan go? I expect him to be one of the faster drivers today. It's a 16.4, and that's 1.5 seconds faster for Yagizan, as Jerry van Bussel goes to 17.7, 2 tenths faster than Charles, slots into P2. Then it's Milan, but he has invalidated his lap. And then the Red Bull of Jars, 58.0 after the second sector, which means he will go for another hot lap. And the 2 Aston Martins behind, let's go on board with Julian, P3 in the championship. Let's go with a full lap with the Aston Martin driver, number 37 Aston Martin, as Joey has joined this session, as we expect a few more drivers to join a bit later this session. You see perfectly with this camera angle, coming into the hairpin, it's down the hill, and that's encourages some lockups. Then it's down, shifting towards third gear, shifting upwards once again, and down the hill he goes, and once again up. It's amazing the elevation this track has. A lot of blind corners, so especially if you drive without a line, it's very hard to get it right. Janssen, meanwhile, P2, 17.4, 1 second still behind our leader in P1. Yagizan with a 16.4. Can Julian, though, do anything about it? He heads towards the finish line. And it will be 16.6. He slots into P2 with his teammate Juxel slotting in P3, 16.881. And then it's Sven coming over the line to start his hot lap. Paul, I think, meanwhile, yes, he is completing his hot lap. And Meneer van den Bergen completed his hot lap as well. He slots him in P4. Sven missing the apex of turn 3, Lagos. Opening the DRS and going towards that hairpin. Then Ferrari, I think that's the Ferrari of Johnson, going over the line to start another hot lap. He's in P5 at the moment as Joey has retired from the session. He's in P10 but he hasn't set a lap time, he joined recently. As Mika heads to 16.7. Just in front of Cameron, a few 100ths of a second in P4. It's around 52 seconds in the second sector, and now third sector. Unbalance may occur in this final corner, and now it's on the power for this long straight down towards turn 1. Coming over the line, it will be 17.5. Our pole sitter from Bahrain can only manage P8 in Q1 at Portimao. Now let's head to Meneer van den Bergen, who's still on the track. And Janssen, with a medium tire, has invalidated his lap. Okay, then it's Meneer van den Bergen. And then a Haas of Cameron, I think. Yes, he is going into the pit lane. And Mika coming into the pit lane of this lap as well. Davey, I think, is going for a hot lap. Yes, he is going for a hot lap. He's on the medium tire. And a lot of people here trying the medium tire first. Just to get a sense of how the circuit is at the moment. And maybe expect a few drivers, because the tire delta for the medium tire is only 0.5 of a second. Expect some drivers to go for the medium tire in Q2. It's P7 for Davey on the medium tires. That's 0.9 of a second slower than Yagizan in P1 is at the moment. Sven coming into the pit lane. And Charles is on his outlap. Let's go on board with the Ferrari driver. Charles having a habit of coming out the pit lane first of the drivers, and he managed to do that as well in Portimao. It's yellow sector 1, 2, 3, just cars letting by other cars and cars without fuel. And Charles already losing a lot of lap time in turn 1, not taking as much risk as he could have done. And going up the hill, a lot of understeer at that corner. DRS open and down towards the hairpin, literally, because he's going downhill, braking at the 75 meters or so, accelerating out of the hairpin. Pretty hard to find your traction point there. And then shifting down towards 6th gear, going over the white line. That means he should have invalidated his lap if he went over that white line too fast. He managed to validate his lap. Then down the hill he goes for the second sector. It's 52.3, 0.2 faster than he was with the previous lap. So he's heading for a 17.7. That can win him 1 position over Jerry van Bussel in P11. But is now on the power towards the finish line. And I don't know if this lap will be enough to secure him for Q2. It is a 0.3 of a second improvement, so he goes faster than Jerry. Doesn't beat Sven in P10 with exactly 2/100ths of a second. Let's go to Milan. He's going into the pit lane. And then it's the Red Bull of Jars completing his lap to go P5. So a 16.7 for him. Looking at the timing sheet, we have 4 drivers in the 16.7, so pretty close right there. Yuxel going for a hot lap, and the Mercedes of Black Box going for an out lap as well. Let's go on board with the man that's currently P2 in the championship. So what can he do on his lap? He wants to win, he wants to take pole position. If he takes pole, and if he takes a win, and Davey finishes P2, they are level on points in the championship. But of course, that fastest lap is a thing that needs to be counted within the equation as well. The Black Box goes fastest in Sector 1, and who says that Black Box and Davey will finish P1 and P2 in this race, because there's a lot of drivers here that have proven they are race winners and that they have the ability to win races in TFL. Charles on the sideline, Yuxel going out of the way for the Mercedes as well. Purple in the second sector, 51.4 for Black Box, hitting the apex nicely. And now, final real corner of the circuit, accelerating out, careful on the throttle, and now it's full power down towards the line. Closest to the right hand side of the track. Black Box goes P2, 16.444, exactly 3/100ths of a second behind the Turkish driver in P1. As Black Box goes a bit wide to let Yuxel by on his hot lap. And the AlphaTauri that's currently on the lap, VR Kaya. Let's go with Kaya for a lap, because I think this is a driver that needs to be looked at this race. He has proven he's a pretty fast driver in other leagues, but can he do the same in TFL? I think he can. And I don't think he's on a hot lap at the moment, because his lights were blinking. No, he's not on a hot lap. His lights are blinking, which means he's not pushing any ERS at all. And that means, of course, he's not pushing for a hot lap. Sven goes into the pit lane. Milan once again goes for a lap. He's on a medium tire at the moment, so let's see what he can do. Can Mercedes play any team games up in front of the field? Milan has proven to be a pretty fast driver, but has not scored the points that he should have done. As Jars has retired from the session, he thinks he's safe. Purple sector 1 for Milan, as we are to believe the minimap in the bottom right hand corner. Milan accelerating out of the hairpin, downshifting towards 6th gear, and once again toward 3rd gear, short shifting to 4th, accelerating out of the slow right hander, and now it's up the hill. Blind corner to the right hand side he goes, hitting the apex nicely, and for the second sector it will be a 51.6. That's pretty good for the medium tires. He misses the apex for this corner, but now towards the final real corner of the circuit, towards 4th gear, and accelerating out, and now once again full throttle towards the line, keeping to the right hand side of the track to gain as much time as possible on the medium tire. Milan goes P4, 16.5, and let's look at the different tire compounds that have been used. And as you can see, Milan with the medium tires, 16.5 is not bad at all. And for Q1, these times are pretty respectable. And I think the championship leader is on a hot lap. So Davey in the Papaya Orange McLaren is on a hot lap, because he's currently in P13 with a 17.3 on the medium tires. And he's not safe at all. He's already improving by 2.5 temps in the first sector. So if he can complete this lap, he'll make a huge jump at the timing sheets and probably go somewhere around times of the top 5, top 4. I reckon he'll be in there, in the mix. For the second sector, he's improving by 4 tenths of a second. So, first sector 2.5 tenths 1, second sector 4 tenths 1. Purple, according to the minimap. So, improving by 6.5 tenths. That will put a 16.7. He's of course improving with the soft tire in the final sector as well. Now, towards the line he goes, and it will be P1. 16.2 improves by the provisional P1 time by 1.5 tenths. So he's currently the fastest driver on track. Fruitful, now in P18, hasn't set a lap as of yet. He is pushing for a lap though, so let's go on board with the Red Bull driver. Seen some moments of brilliance from him, but unfortunately for him, hasn't been able to get a better result than P4 as of yet. P4 and a P5 have been the best results for the Red Bull driver, but I reckon he will improve over the remaining races, over the next season, as he has proven to be a pretty fast driver. But for now, can he get out of qualifying 1? Can he go into Q2? It's down towards the finish line, and it will be a 17.2, which puts him P14, just safe for Q2. Currently, Joey, Gaia, and Charles are in the danger zone, as Mika goes P2 with a 16.3, almost beating Davy's time. But Gaia here, P17, is on an outlap and needs to set a lap time to get out of qualifying 1. 1.5 minutes left, so this will be his only shot. Davy has retired from the session and he is safe, I can tell you that. So Davy through to Q2, and I think the entire top 10 are pretty safe at the moment. So Kaya now starting his lap, and the Alfa Romeo of Jerry van Bussel is in front of him, also on a hot lap. He's of course already within the top 15, so he's safe for now if drivers won't go faster than him that are currently behind him. Opening the DRS. Towards the hairpin he goes. He's improving by 2.5 tenths at this moment in time, so that already would put him safe. But he needs to complete the lap without any invalidation and without taking too much risks, and he's taking a lot of risks on this lap. He shouldn't do that. He should just complete this lap to go through to Q2, but I think even without those mistakes that he made... Oh no! Oh, Kaya is off. He's off. Just as we said, he doesn't need to make any mistake as he waits for Jerry van Bussel to go past. Nice move by Kaya. Kaya off in a lap that he just needed to complete. Not even push as hard as he did. But Kaya out of Q1. Jerry van Bussel into the pit lane. He's safe. Fruitful is improving. Sven is trying to improve as well, is currently P15. Charles out of qualifying. Sven goes P12. Fruitful now in P15 is improving by 2.5 tenths of a second. But I think he is safe in qualifying because the drivers in the low positions aren't improving. Jerry van Bussel relegated down to P15 once again by Fruitful, because Fruitful improved his lap time by 17.001 in the top right hand corner, and in the left hand side you see a 17.000. So pretty nice lap time by Fruitful, 17 blank. But he is safe, and Charles in the Ferrari is out. Meanwhile his teammate Johnson is in P7. But fastest of any driver are championship leader Davy in P1 with 1:16.261. 45 thousandths of a second behind though. Mika looking to take that pole position in Q3. And then it's a lot of drivers really close behind. Yagizan and Blackbox pretty close. Cameron 1/10 behind. Half tenth behind them is Milan on the medium tire. So keep an eye on him during qualifying 2. what will he do? Will he qualify in the medium tires? As we've seen in Q1, he has the pace to qualify on those mediums. So will he take the gamble and go for the medium tires? Ferrari of Janssen in P7, then it's Julian in P8, P9 Jars, P10 Meneer van den Bergen, P11 Yüksel, Sven in P12, Ball P13, P14 Yüksel, and those are the drivers in the top 14, and P15 Jerry van Bussel, that are going through to Q2. And the weather forecast for Portimao on the Sunday, it looks like it is raining at the start of the race, and it's going to dry up later in the race. So, wet to dry should be interesting for the race. Okay, as the race is starting in the wet, I don't think anyone will go for the medium run in Q2. Because, of course, you're starting on or the wet tire or the intermediate tire and not on the slick tire. So it would be a pretty stupid choice if you would start on a wet compound to go for a medium run in Q2. As Milan cuts the track on his outlap. Okay, so the top 10 drivers qualify for Q3, and the lowest 5 placed drivers will not go through to the next part of qualifying, as you might know from real life Formula 1. So it will be interesting to see who makes it through. Some drivers here really need to get a move on, since their lap times in Q1 didn't seem all that impressive. So I hope they can make a jump here in Q2 and challenge for a seat in Q3. As almost every driver is on his outlap. Let's go to the first of those drivers. Jerry van Bussel crossing the start-finish line now and going for an hot lap in his number 21 Alfa Romeo, as the Alpine came out of the pits. The same moment Jerry van Bussel went into turn 1, which may remind you of the fact that the pit exit is a pretty dangerous, might we not call it, but a pretty interesting place on the track, pretty close to turn 1. So we're looking for something to happen at the pit exit in the race. A few drivers on the medium tire. Meneer van den Bergen, Yagizan, Borrell, Mika and Cameron all on the medium compound. They might think the race is suitable for dry tires at the start. Or they might try to set their lap time on the medium tires to spare a set of the soft tire. And I think Milan is on a hot lap. Yes, Milan is on a hot lap. As we were looking to Jerry van Bussel, but Sven, but he invalidated his lap time. But Milan will be the first driver, the second driver to set a lap time in Q2. Yüksel goes 16.8, but Milan will be faster than the Aston Martin. He will go a 16.325. This time he is on the soft tire. Sven goes 17.2. That means, of course, we were spectating Jerry van Bussel earlier. Janssen 16.5 on the soft tires in the Ferrari. Good lap time from him, as the Haas of Cameron now crosses the line in P4 on the medium tire, 17.1. Then the Alpha Tauri of Yagizan now going for a second lap. I think he invalidated his first lap. Davy is going for a hot lap as well. As Jars goes P4 in the Red Bull, and then it's Ball behind in the Williams, starting a hard lap as well, so he invalidated his first run, going into out of the pit lane. Now, Davy once again abandoning his lap, so he'll not go through with this lap. Black Box still in the pit lane, one of the fastest drivers today, as Julian and Yüksel are playing the team game here. Yüksel, of course, having set a lap time on the soft tire and giving a little bit of a slipstream to Julian. Might help him out on this straight, but I don't think that advantage will be massively powerful for Julian. Hitting the apex nicely off turn 1. Now down towards turn 3 he goes. Hitting the apex nicely as well. Second gear, third gear, shifting up towards fifth gear, DRS open, and now towards the hairpin 22.0 for the first sector. It's purple according to the map. Oh, a bit of a luck up, and avoiding the apex at the hairpin. That is a thing you can do, but of course the luck up will not benefit him at all this lap. Then down the hills, accelerating through those hills and up once again, and towards the right we go. Hitting the apex, no, he misses the apex slightly. 51.9, purple second sector. Now third sector, hitting the apex on the inside, on the left hand side. Final corner, oh, he goes onto the grass. Don't think that had cost him too much time. And now towards the line, number 3 in the championship. What can Julian do? Will he go P1? He will go P3, 16.7, still 4 tenths behind P1. And then it's the Red Bull of Fruitful, P11, and the Alfa Romeo of Jerry Bussel once again starting a lap. So he wasn't happy with his previous lap. Davy once again invalidating his lap, so he'll go into the pits, I think. Most likely go into the pit lane, because I don't think he has enough fuel to complete another run. Yes, he heads into the pit lane. Let's go on board with... No, Meneer van den Bergen is not... Yes, he is on a hot lap, but he's on a medium tire. 2 lap old medium tires. Fruitful has set a lap time. And I don't think he's improving. No, he's not improving. Jerry van Bussel in P10 isn't improving as well. So the drivers that are out are not improving, and Julian going into the pit lane. So, as we see, the Mercedes duo of Black Box and Milan off track at the hairpin. And now Black Box is going for his first outlap in Q2. 7.5 minutes left in this session. As we are in the middle of Q2, just comment in the comment section, who do you think is going to take pole position here at Portimao? And if I have to guess, I think our pole man after Q3 will be Milan in the Mercedes. I think is going to him, with a Black Box behind him. So his Mercedes front row lookout, if I have to guess so. And then spice things up in the championship. Davy in P3. But Black Box now going for his lap in Q2. Let's look how good of a lap will he be able to complete here. Hitting the apex nicely. Now, 4th gear, 5th gear, opening the DRS towards the hairpin. And it's 1.8 for the first sector. It's a pretty good lap time for full qualifying. So Q1, Q2, Q3. So this will certainly be one of the faster lap times that we saw. Will he challenge his teammate for P1? He's in P15 at the moment. Does not need to invalidate his lap, because if he does that, he will need another lap to set a lap time. And he doesn't need that at all. But it looks like a really tight lap from Black Box, from the driver from the United Kingdom. Keep it to the right hand side of the road. And now towards the finish line he goes. It will be a 16.3, and it's the Mercedes 1-2 at the moment, as Milan goes even faster on provisional P1. 16.189 is the provisional P1 time, and that's the Mercedes front row lockout. Not in the most important part of qualifying, but in Q2 at least, that they want to see. Can they replicate it though in Q3? Oh no, Mika by 3,000 of a second beats Milan to P1, so he's not a front row for Mercedes anymore in Q2. Milan spoiling the party in the Alpine, and he now is in P1. Then the Haas of Cameron is on another lap. He's currently in P12, so it's not safe. Braking for the hairpin, he has a 17.1, and looking at the gap from P5 to P13, it's only 5 tenths of a second, and that time is easily found on this circuit if you have not completed an ideal lap. As Davey now goes P1, 16.177 in the McLaren, and it's pretty close at the top because the top 3 drivers are within 12 thousandths of a second. 3 different teams within 12 thousandths of a second. That's amazing to see, and it's only Q2, so let's see what we'll see in Q3. There'll be some exciting times ahead of us in the coming minutes. Now Cameron towards the line. Will he go out of the bottom 5? It will be a 16.4 for Cameron, and that puts him in P5, and he is out of the bottom 5 as he also crosses cuts the track a little bit, which you are of course not allowed to do in qualifying. And now the bottom 5 drivers are all on their out lap or hard lap, except for Sven, who's still in the pit lane. So I hope for Sven, he's going for another lap. Jerry is on a hot lap, as is Borrell ahead of him. He's a few corners ahead. Borrell now having given up his lap, so Borrell might have invalidated his run. Jerry the first of the bottom 5 to cross the line. Mika retired in the pit lane, as Davey has retired in the pit lane as well. It's Alfa Romeo 14 and 15, last 2 positions in Q2. Can one of their drivers maybe get into Q3? Jerry improving by 5 tenths of a second, and that is the gap that he needs to get into the top 10. Can he complete a solid enough run through the third sector? Goes a bit wide at the final corner. Now it's full throttle towards the finish line, and that final corner might have spoiled the party for him. No, he does go into the top 10, but of course drivers behind are also on a run. Yüksel going for another run in a few moments time. Jars is going towards the finish line, is in P12, 16.9. Can he improve by a slender margin to go into the top 10? Yes, he can. He goes P6, pushes Jerry van Bussel back into the bottom 5 as Julian goes fastest of all, 16.1 in Q2, so he's through into Q3. And Meneer van den Bergen now goes P10, pushes Fruitful into the bottom 5, and he's in the pit, so he can't defend his position. Yüksel is on a hot lap, but he has invalidated his run according to the minimap, so it's down to Borrell, who's the only driver who's able to get out of the bottom 5 as he invalidates his run. So Borrell out of qualifying, as is Sven, Yüksel, Jerry van Bussel, as he is not improving, and Fruitful in the pit lane. They all have a free choice of tire though, So they might be able to choose their starting tire. Jerry van Bussel, though, going for another lap here. And I hope for him his softs are not at a point where they're dying off. So he's trying to go for another lap. Yüksel, yes, he has the opportunity as well to go for another lap. Borrell, so almost all of the bottom 5 are now going for another lap. So that means Meneer van den Berg is still at risk of being knocked out in P10. Sven improving by 0.3 of a second. That's not enough to go out of the bottom 5, but can he find some time in this final sector? He has to find like 0.3 of a second in that final sector alone. Can he go out of qualifying 2 and into qualifying 3? Sven crosses the line and goes P12. He misses out on a spot in Q3. Jerry van Bussel, his teammate, is not improving as well. Has abandoned his run and is out. Borrell has invalidated his run once again and is out as well. So that means your bottom 5 hasn't changed from a few seconds ago, only for Sven to jump from P15 to P12. So that means Meneer van den Berg is safe. And Borrell, Yüksel, Jerry van Bussel, Sven and Fruitful are out of Q2. And it's Julian who's fastest. And looking at the top 4, they are all on a 16.1. So I don't know who's going to go for pole position here. P6 for Cameron. As he crosses the line, Meneer van den Berg has crossed the line as well. And that means qualifying is officially over. Q2 at least. As we wait for Q3. But my guess is still Milan in P1, Black Box in P2, and then Davy in P3 for Q3. So let's see what will happen in that final part of qualifying. And as we already said, Julian in P1 in the Aston Martin. Let's hope for him he can do the same in Q3 then. Julian in P1, Davy in P2, so it's a TFL 1-2, but Teteri Mika close behind. IFR Milan with IFRA Yagizan in P4 and 5 representing IFR. Then Ecos Cameron, TFL Janssen, IFR Black Box, Jars, and then in P10 it's Meneer van den Berg. And that gap of 4.5 tenths of a second is covering the entire top 10 and only a bit over 0.2 of a second covering the top 9. So it's pretty close, you could say. And put your comment in the comment section. So if you're watching the stream, comment in the comment section, who do you think is going to take pole position here in Q3? As we wait for the first car to go out, as we see movement in the Mercedes garage, Milan's tire blankets are going off. And he is going out for his first run in Q3. The Alpine of, I think that is Meneer van den Berg, now goes out for his first lap as well. As he is on his out lap. And the AlphaTauri of Yagizan is out as well. So Milan can challenge for pole, but a lot of drivers here have the ability to take pole position. So don't think there won't be an unpredictable pole position here, as we've seen before. In Bahrain, the season opener, Sven, who's now knocked out in P12 in Q2, took pole position by surprise in Bahrain, and even more to his surprise, Fruitful took pole position in Baku, saying it was one of those laps that you couldn't replicate if you wanted to. It was an amazing lap by the Red Bull driver that put him on pole position, and now in the Algarve, can one driver put together that magical lap that will put him on pole position? Milan now on the accelerator and going for his first hot lap in Q3. 10 minutes remaining on the clock, and then we're going over the line to look how Milan now is going for his first hot lap. DRS wide open down the hill through the first corner. The right-hander, similar to the one at Hockenheim, now is once again a right-hander, and then up the hill, and the DRS zone is now coming up, opening the DRS now, and down towards the hairpin he goes. Purple sector 1. Let's put on some telemetry and lap data, and we couldn't just see what his time was out of sector 1, but it looked like a pretty tight sector 1 to me. Then towards third gear, short shifting to fourth gear, and now accelerating out the corner. Down the hill he goes, handing to the left and once again to the right, and then no lockups, hitting the apex nicely, staying out of trouble with the track limits, and it's a 51.2 for the second sector. Now the third sector, pretty twisty, left-hander, right-hander, accelerating a long right-hander for the final real corner of the circuit. On the power he goes, and Milan now has to let the engine do the work as Meneer van den Bergen goes for a 16.5 for provisional pole position. Milan goes provisional pole with 16.153. That's the time they all have got to beat, as TTG Mika goes a 16.344. He doesn't beat the lap time set by Milan. Yagizan goes P2 with a 16.173. Doesn't beat him as well. 2/100ths of a second down. Julian goes P3 and Black Box goes P4. So currently Mercedes are on top with Cameron now going for a lap. He's in P6 with 16.5. Then the McLaren of the championship leader now coming down towards the line, and it's P1 for the championship leader. 1:16.0 for Davy. And that's provisional pole for the McLaren driver, as TFL Janssen goes a 1:27.9, is going for another lap in Q3. Maybe invalidated his first run. And what has happened to Davy? He let past the Ferrari, but Davy on provisional pole, and a few 100ths down the line we have Milan in P2 and Jagizan in P3. Also very closely matched, those two. Julian in P4 just couldn't get the lap together that he did in Q2, because his Q2 lap time was even faster than he did now in Q3. But remember, it's only the first runs. Anything can happen here. And if Davy takes his third pole position of the season, that would mean he will take home 2 more points to add to his tally, and that will put him at an 11 points lead of the championship for the drivers. And Black Box in P2 still, but things are not done as of yet. Janssen now across the line goes P6 at 16.3, 2.5 temps down from pole position. And that's a gap that he might be able to close down, as all drivers, except for the Ferrari driver, are into the pit lane. So they are preparing for their final runs here in Q3. Ferrari Janssen winning his first race in TFL in Spain by an absolute masterclass of strategy, as Rohan has left the session. He joined later into the session and now has left the session once again. Hopefully for him, he is able to join back once again and participate in the race. Janssen not having any more fuel left, so that's why he's not going as fast as you might have expected him to go. But as we said, his first win came in Spain this season, and he's aiming to take a lot more wins in the future. And taking pole position here in the Algarve might help him with that, as he's only 2.5 times down. Don't think that he isn't able to take pole position, because he's most definitely is capable of doing that. As we wait and wait and wait for any driver to head out, and I think, yes, it's a Mercedes. It's a Mercedes of Milan. Milan now, the first of the drivers to go for their second run in Q3. So 4.5 minutes on the clock remaining, taking the short route. And he's going for his outlap already. And that's pretty early for a second run, if you ask me. I was preparing myself for a little bit more action in the pit lane, to just wait for the cars to all go out at the 3.5 to 3 minute mark. But Milan decided to go early for a run. So the man is currently P2. My prediction, he would be on pole position. He's pretty close. He's just over 7/10 of 7/100, sorry, of a second slower than Davy. This is the second Mercedes, and Black Box heads out of pit lane now as well. As Milan prepares for his next hot lap. He might be able to complete another hot lap after this one if he invalidates it. So I think that is the reason he's going out early. So Milan opening the DRS. There's a few more drivers now go out onto the track just before the 3 minute mark, hitting the apex nicely at turn 1 once again, and then going for the second DRS zone. Up the hill he goes, no understeer as of yet, opening the DRS and down towards the hairpin he goes. It's a 59 thousandths of a second improvement, which still wouldn't be good enough for provisional pole, but still an entire lap to go to improve his position. And it looks like a really tight lap from the Mercedes driver. Can he put it all together though and go for that provisional pole? Because there's still 2.5 minutes left and anything can happen in this session. He's improving by 0.2 of a second, which will put him into the 115s. And he will be the first driver to do that in this session. Now onto the power. Bit of hesitation going onto the power, and now let the engine do the work. The powerful, the almighty Mercedes engine, down towards the line he goes. Will it be a 115? It will be a 115.885 for Milan in Q3. He is on provisional pole in the Algarve, and now Yagizan going for a second lap. Black Box has invalidated his run, as TTG Mika is on his run. So let's go on board with the Alpine driver, who has shown some great pace. Can he once again, as he almost loses the rear of his car, can he challenge for a provisional pole? He's P7 at the moment, and oh no, he invalidated his lap. He was improving by almost 0.2 of a second, so he goes off the throttle, lets the other cars by if he can, and then go for another run. And the first one to go for that run is Mika once again, then it's Jars in the Red Bull, and then it's Black Box. Behind them, it's Milan. Milan not going for another lap, and I think he doesn't have enough fuel to go for a lap once again. Yagizan has invalidated his run, so he won't complete his lap now. Davy, though, hasn't invalidated his run, so this might be the final hot lap that Davy is able to complete. Milan has retired from the session, so he is not able to defend his pole position. Davy is not taking pole in this run, looking at the timing in the top right hand side, and is going for his next hot lap now. Then the Aston Martin Julian crossing the line and going P3. P3 for Julian in the Aston Martin, and I think he's going for another lap now. Johnson going for a lap as well, as Cameron will be the first of the drivers to cross the line once again. As my clock says, the qualifying is over, and Cameron goes into the pit lane and his qualifying is over. P10 for Cameron. Jars is improving by 0.2 of a second. Can he find even more time in this final sector? He's P9 at the moment, improving by 0.2. Will be a world of difference in P5. He will go ahead of Black Box, but can he find some pace in this final sector? Jars going to cross the line, and he is in P6, just ahead of Black Box as Black Box heads in the pit lane. He is P7 at best. Now we head to the AlphaTauri of Yagizan. He is not improving after the second sector. Can he find some more time in this third sector? He crosses the line and does not improve, but Davy is trying to improve. He misses out by a few 100th of a second for P2, but still Milan unchallenged in P1. Julian into the pit lane. Janssen going to cross the line, has invalidated his run, and Meneer van den Bergen not improving as well. So that means Milan is on pole position here at Portugal, and the Mercedes is on P1, but it's not a front row lockout. So it's Milan from Mika, then Davy, Julian, Yagizan, Jars in P6, P7 for the second Mercedes of Black Box, Janssen in P8, P9 for Meneer van den Bergen, and then it's Cameron in P10. Final position in Q3. And Milan, an absolute banger of a lap. Only driver into the 115s, and that's not at all easy to do in a full qualifying session. Amazing result by the Mercedes driver. And Mika, props to him as well, was pretty far down, but now in P2. Pretty good lap time for him on the front row. And Davy sees his championship rival behind him and is aiming for a championship gap increasement. He's trying to increase that gap at the top of the championship. As Milan puts together his awesome lap for P1. Has to be said, props to him. And now let's wait for the race. We know the race is in mixed conditions, so that will prove interesting. So, guessing in the comment section on YouTube, Davy or Milan is going to take pole position. Yes, Quibi, you were right. Milan got pole position, showing his hands at the dying stages of Q3. Damiano Insanity not happy he wasn't able to take part in qualifying. Yes, he joined later, and due to an update in the game, joining later in qualifying, that causes a glitch, and so we wouldn't want to take any risk with the qualifying session. Then we wait for a few more seconds as we see the rain coming down here in Portugal. In real life, we only once saw rain in a session here, and that was at the start of the race in 2020, if you remember. Carlos Sainz taking full advantage of the light, very light rain at the start of the race. Everyone's starting on the soft and medium and hard compounds, so the dry tire compounds. Sainz on the soft tires against a lot of guys on the medium tires in front, went from P5, P6 all the way to P1, overtaking both Mercedes cars and the Red Bull of Verstappen. It was awesome to see a McLaren leading once again in real Formula 1. And of course, seeing a McLaren win, even a 1-2 for McLaren at Italy and Monza this year. And now the McLaren of Davy is trying to extend his championship lead over Black Box. Can he manage to do that? Will Milan play any team games? So it's inter-tires, so intermediate conditions, and that will improve to dry conditions, as I have to believe my weather report from the drivers in this session. As we wait for cars to line up on the grid. Strategy down below, inter-tire until the end, or the inter with the one stop. Of course, the moment it will be drying up, that strategy will go, won't be looked at all. As Rohan in the McLaren is stuck on the grid. I think he made contact with a car, but at least he's on the grid. So Rohan has joined, as we have 19 drivers ready to take part in the race. Milan now exiting the final corner to go for a perfect getaway. That's a start, trying to keep Mika behind. And Rohan already on the grid. Milan now coming to the grid, leaving a train of cars. There we see the McLaren of Rohan already on the grid. Rohan, I'm pretty excited to see what he can do, as the cars make contact. I think that's a little bit of a glitch from the game. Looking at the onboard from Rohan, that's a pretty weird sight to see. Hopefully that won't cause any problems for the race. Let's go on board with Milan, as the McLaren of Rohan is still on the grid. Next to the Alpha Tauri, I think that is, of Jars. Hopefully that will sort itself out as we wait for the lights to go green here in Portugal. Will the lights go green? The green flag is being waved in the background. You can see it. I think we're still waiting on the grid. Yes, we are. And I think that has something to do with the car of Rohan that is still stuck on the grid. And I think this is a glitch, and this will most certainly be a restart. So I think this won't sort itself out. Yes, this will be a restart. Okay, so let's just take a picture of the grid here. As we have to wait to get started once again. So a bit of a delay here, 2 restarts in a row. And with Rohan on the track, the computer did not correct the position of Rohan, which caused the game to glitch out, and that means we will have to make another session. So let's just wait for a new session to be created. It might take a few minutes, give or take 5 minutes, for the session to be recreated and for the lobby and grid settings to be completely correct to start once again. So we will be back in 5 minutes to start the Grand Prix, and hopefully you'll be with us in 5 minutes. So come back in around 5 minutes and then we'll start once again. Well, thank you for waiting, everyone. It took a little bit more than 5 minutes. We're almost 10 minutes further, but we're getting ready to start. The grid is being formed and is almost ready to go. We're waiting for one driver to join this session. And that's TFL Damiano, a race winner in Italy. And he is trying to join the session as fast as he can, because he still had the update to do. And hopefully he'll be able to join in time, because we're starting with a few seconds. So let's just wait a few more seconds for this session to go underway and to go racing in the Algarve. The weather situation has been altered according to the session we had before. So the forecast for the previous race would have been wet intermediate stint for around 2/3 of the race, then a dry period, and then another period, but that would have been a period where it would rain once again. So a wet, dry, wet race, which certainly would have made for some bold strategy calls. The weather conditions in this race have been altered to simulate that of the previous session. So we will see a start of a wet race, then going to a dry period, and then once again going to a wet period. That is what is forecast for this session. As all drivers get ready. For the race to start. And the loading has been completed. It is 22:20 according to Amsterdam time, German time, and London time. It is 21:20, 1 hour earlier, and we are starting a bit later than we would have wanted to start, but we are starting, and that's something after all. The drivers are now taking their setups, trying to alter them maybe for the wet stints that are coming right at them. And now first we have the formation lap. So let's be aware of the fact that Rowan is now in the Red Bull Williams, is now in a Williams, and Damiano is in his McLaren, which he usually drives in the game. Joey behind is still on the grid, is now going down the hill towards turn 1, and is a bit slow off the start, and is trying to make his way back to the pack once again, but this is still the formation lap. As Milan is on the intermediate tires. I think all drivers will be on the intermediate compound. Yes, every driver is on the intermediate compound. We are waiting for the formation lap to end, for the drivers to complete their 1 lap around the Portimao circuit and get ready for the race in just a few moments time. Please, in the comment section, comment who do you think is going to win this race. Will it be one of the championship protagonists? Will it be the pole sitter Milan, or maybe the front row sitter alongside Milan, Mika? Just comment in the section, who do you think is going to win the Portuguese Grand Prix, as the cars are making their way to the grid. Joey in the Haas P18 is a bit further down the field. Once again, strategy, zero stop for the intermediate tire, of course, in wet conditions. You don't have to make a stop, so this race can be done with zero stops. But with the race going from wet to dry to wet, it wouldn't be a good bet to stay on the intermediate tires when the dry conditions show up. Now, the Haas is making his way to the grid. Joey, the final of the running cars, to set up on his grid position in P18. As Milan is on pole position. Mika alongside in the Alpine. Who leads into turn 1? Will it be Milan? Will it be Mika? Or will it be one of the cars behind? As we get ready for the 5 lights to go on. 3, 4, 5 lights on now. And the lights are out. Milan gets a good start. The AlphaTauri behind of Yagizan gets a good start as well. He still is behind the McLaren, but the McLaren of Davy on the outside of the Alpine. Now in P2, but is still battling with Mika. Mika, though, has that inside line, but Davy is ahead. Now has the inside line for the left-hander, and Davy is in P2. Overtakes Mika at the start. Julian still in P4. Then wide is the Red Bull of Jars. On the inside, the AlphaTauri of Yagizan, and holds on to P5. Black Box, though, still in P7. So not a perfect start from him, but he can still make up a lot of positions this race. Still has to be patient as he makes a move on the Red Bull driver of Jars. Can't make the move stick, though, as Milan is already 1 second ahead of the pack. It's Milan from Davy, from Mika, from Julian, from Yagizan, as there's a battle for P11 going on now. Fruitful going out the outside of the Haas of Cameron, and is into P10 as they make contact. It's Cameron into the wall. He does not have damage, it appears, from his front wing, but he is into the wall, making contact with Fruitful, and it's Haas, 19 and 20 in this race. An all too familiar sight in real Formula 1, but now in the Portuguese Grand Prix as well. So Milan leads from Davy, from Mika, as Black Box is on the rear of Jars in the Red Bull. Can he make a move? He's going side by side at the main straight. He's not fully alongside though, so he has to give up the position. Jerry van Bussel and Cameron coming into the pit lane, and that was a pretty eventful start here in Portugal. Still a battle going on with Borrell and Yüksel. Yüksel around the outside of Borrell. Can he make the move stick? No, he can't. Borrell still in P12 with Kaya and Rowan side by side behind them. Now Rowan is ahead of Damiano as there's a virtual safety car. I don't know what for, but there's a virtual safety car. So all drivers have to keep hold of the delta, as Black Box and Jars unfortunately were overtaking each other at the moment the virtual safety car came out, so that means they'll have to give back their positions. Hopefully that won't cause any problems for them, but it's a virtual safety car here at Portimao. And Jerry van Bussel, Cameron running in the final 2 positions. Meneer van den Bergen gets a 3-second time penalty, crossing over the white line, which gives him a 3-second time penalty. And unfortunately he did that on the virtual safety car when there's no need for pushing, as Jerry van Bussel gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. No other driver seems to have got a penalty, as there's a crash in front, a massive crash in front. Julian and Jars are out immediately, as I think there were some other cars involved as well. So Julian and Jars both out of the Grand Prix. And now it's Janssen in P5, Meneer van den Bergen in P6. No safety car as of yet, but there's an Aston Martin in the pit lane, so Julian went into the pit lane, but he is out of the Grand Prix. Fruitful in P7, made a pretty good start, of course benefiting from that crash in front, but what has happened there and what has caused those cars to spin at the main straight? Jai van Bussel, 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane after getting that drive-through penalty for speeding after the virtual safety car had ended. But that was an eventful restart, and I couldn't see exactly what happened in front, but they were pretty close while battling, and of course I think they hit each other on the straight, which would have caused them to spin around as we saw. But now Black Box is in a position he likes to see more than a few laps ago. He's now in P4 instead of his starting position P7, lifting a bit on the straight as McLaren, as Davy in the McLaren sets the fastest lap time. Black Box is chasing down Davy, but first has to get past the Turkish driver who's now running P3 in the race. Black Box getting off the track and just lifting off so he wouldn't get a penalty or a warning for track limits. Meneer van den Bergen a bit slow, and Fruitful wants to overtake the Alpine. He has the benefit of more speed, and he now overtakes the Alpine driver who's still on the outside. Now he's past the Alpine, so Fruitful into P6 from P11 on the grid. But the Alpine tries to make a move. He's on the inside. Will he go for the dive? Yes, he will. There is a little bit of contact, but Fruitful hangs around on the outside and is in front of Meneer van den Bergen. Awesome move by Fruitful, amazing defending from him, and nice move from Meneer van den Bergen to try to get past Fruitful once again. Pushes Fruitful off the circuit. They're still side by side. Going into sector 3. Now Fruitful going for another dive bomb. Sven has the perfect view of this battle. Fruitful on the outside of the final corner. And that gives Meneer van den Bergen the inside line. Fruitful, though, can he get the catapult exit onto the main straight to get in front of Meneer van den Bergen? No, he can't. He slots in behind him. But on the main straight, can he push the ERS to get past? He is alongside Meneer van den Bergen. Let's look from the view of the Alpine driver. He's alongside going into turn 1. Fruitful on the inside. Meneer van den Bergen on the outside now gets past Meneer van den Bergen. Awesome move by Fruitful. Side by side for half a lap as now Sven goes down the inside as well. Can he hold on? There's a little bit of contact. Meneer van den Bergen losing out on 2 positions. Can Mika overtake him as well? He's side by side with Meneer van den Bergen. Can Meneer van den Bergen hold on to P8? Mika trying to get the switchback. That's an awesome move. There's yellow sector 1 as I think the Haas of Joey has spun around. Meneer van den Bergen holds on to P8 ahead of his teammate. Will his teammate go for the dive bomb? No, he won't. So Meneer van den Bergen is still in P8. An opportunistic move by Sven and an awesome battle with Fruitful and Meneer van den Bergen has put Fruitful into P6. 2.5 seconds behind the Ferrari of Janssen, and then it's Black Box in front of them. Just 0.6 of a second from Yagizan, and now looking to the front of the field is Milan from Davy. They are close as well, as Milan is going into the pit lane and looking at the track. It is drying up as the fastest lap goes to Fruitful. Goes to Black Box. Fruitful taking a 30-second time penalty for track limits. 2 drivers are going onto the medium compound from the leading driver. So it's Milan, who was leading this race, is going onto the medium tire, and Jagizan onto the soft compound. That leaves Davy in the lead of the race and his championship rival, Black Box, right behind him. But is the track improving that much as Burrow almost goes off the track, that the soft tire and the medium tire had the advantage? DRS is enabled. Damiano off track, had to get to the right hand side of the road because Burrow was right in front of him. Now he's side by side with Burrow. They do make contact on the straight. Still there's contact, and Burrow holds on to the position. And the intermediate tires do not have the grip that they had a few seconds ago. As Damiano now is in front of Burrow. Burrow going for the inside. No, he won't. Stays in front. Stays behind Damiano for now. As Jagizan has gotten past Milan Milan, of course, on the medium tire, and Jagizan on the soft tire. So Jagizan getting past on the faster compound. And let's see what the drivers in front will do. Davy heads into the pit lane. Black Box heads into the pit lane. And what about Johnson and Fruitful? They will head into the pit lane as well. So I guess every driver that hasn't got into the pit lane the previous lap will go into the pit lane now. But let's go on board with Jagizan. I think this will be the outlap that he waited for, almost losing the rear of his car due to the damp conditions. Will the Davy in the McLaren get out in front of Jagizan? He's already on the main straight. Davy on the right hand side, and he goes into the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix. Davy and P2 side by side for Black Box and Milan. The two Mercedes dueling it out on track. Black Box in P4, Milan in P3. So Milan now behind Davy as Meneer van den Bergen gets a 3-second time penalty with the DRS enabled. And looking at the tire compounds everyone is having, has put on a mix of the soft tire and the medium tire. Most drivers going onto the soft tire, believing the rain will come faster rather than later. And hopefully for the soft compound runners, the rain will come a bit earlier, because their tires will drop off faster than they would like to. Okay, so times are tumbling down very rapidly as Davy is catching Jagizan now for the lead of a race on the medium compound. Davy maybe could have got a little bit more temperature in his tires. Jagizan is losing time. Looking at Jagizan, he is pushing his ERS and is setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. But Davy 1.2 seconds behind only on the slower compound. So he is very close to the lead of the race, the McLaren driver. Of course, the two Mercedes drivers really close to a good points hold as well, if they can keep hold of those positions. So a mixed up grid after the pit stops, leaving Jagizan in the lead of the race. And this is the closest battle on track as Mika sets the fastest lap of the race in 19.8 on the medium compound. Davy goes a bit wide in the McLaren. Maybe that can encourage Milan to go for the overtake. The thing is, on this track, as Charles has spun around. Has he spun around? I think he lost a lot of position suddenly. And I think there's something wrong with the data on the left hand side. But let's go on board with Black Box. Juxel now gets a 3-second time penalty. Black Box really close behind his teammate. Black Box is pushing. Milan does not seem to push. Can he hold on to P3? Can he hold off his teammate? Black Box is going for the move into turn 1. The two Mercedes are side by side. Black Box going for the move in turn 1. Getting past his teammate. And Milan relegated down to P4. Now Black Box and Davy, championship leaders, P1 and P2, are P2 and P3 on track. So this will have a direct impact on the championship. 9 points separating them in the Drivers' Championship. And now 5-10 separating them on track as Meneer van den Berg is close to Fruitful. Can't make a move as of yet as Fruitful loses the rear of his car. Milan gets a 3-second time penalty in a Mercedes. That's not good news for him. Looking at this battle though, Meneer van den Berg having the soft compound, so naturally should be faster than Fruitful. But Fruitful can hold on to his medium tires a bit longer. Yes, almost. Meneer van den Berg went for a move on in the Alpine on the Red Bull, but couldn't complete it as of yet. A bit too far behind. There's Rowan in the Williams already up to P8. Good start from him. Now let's look at Meneer van den Berg. He's on a soft compound. He has 30% of ERS left. I don't think Fruitful is even defending at all. He knows Meneer van den Berg is faster at this moment, and he should be on the soft compound. So Meneer van den Berg goes past, and Fruitful relegated down to P7. Both IFR drivers of Fruitful and Rowan, teammates. I remember racing them in a server called BNL, racing them as teammates. Good battles, and now they're side by side on track as Charles has retired in the pit lane. That shouldn't cause a virtual safety car or safety car. Looking at Damiano, also making move in this race from last position on the grid up towards P9 already, as Fruitful is once again on the rear of Meneer van den Berg. I think Meneer van den Berg made a mistake, so he's holding up Fruitful now after Meneer van den Berg overtook the Red Bull driver. And it looks like at the same time Charles' Ferrari is once again driving on the track after having retired in the pit lane. So that's an AI Ferrari driving on the track. Now Fruitful is being held up by Meneer van den Berg, and I imagine he'd think, get a move on with those soft tires. I have to defend from Rowan in a few laps time, or even at this moment, so just get on with it, push, and get us out of the DRS range from Rowan. But Meneer van den Berg is blinking with his ERS lights, which means he has fewer than 10% ERS left. And Rowan behind is pushing and is getting ever closer to the Red Bull driver. Let's look to Meneer van den Berg. He has created a bit of a gap now to Fruitful, so Fruitful not being able to make the move. Rowan in his battle is looking really thirsty for P7 and P6. Mika gets a 3-second time penalty. He's in P10. Just a bit behind this battle, as I think that's an Alfa Romeo coming out of the pit lane. Rowan goes a bit wide. Fruitful gets a bit more tighter on the road as Yüksel has retired. Yüksel on the side of the track has retired from the race. Hopefully that won't cause a safety car. But the Aston Martin is out. Meanwhile, his teammate Julian out on the third lap, I thought it was, after the virtual safety car. As we are now in round 11 of 33, round 12, lap 12. As now Meneer van den Berg is relegated down once again to P7, being overtaken by Fruitful, as Meneer van den Berg does not have the pace to keep up with the Red Bull driver. His tires might be dying off a little bit, but burning all your ERS to defend also does not help. Looking at ERS levels, speaking about it, as Rowan has gotten past Meneer van den Berg as well. Black Box on 25% of ERS, Davy on 40% of ERS, and Jagizan trying to push Davy out of his DRS range is now on 11% of ERS, so he does not have any ERS whatsoever to defend his position with. Davy almost around the 50% level of ERS, might have the ability here, might have the first chance to attack Jagizan into turn 1. The distance seems a bit too big at the moment, but he might make a move at the hairpin in a few corners time. So let's look at the point of view from Davy. He is trying to catch Jagizan to go back into the lead of the race, and Milan now a bit dropping off as Fruitful has been overtaken by Rowan. Damiano now in the battle as well. Jagizan managed to hold on to his position. Davy 5 tenths behind. The Black Box 5 tenths behind Davy as well, so that's pretty close there. This train all having DRS of each other. Cameron retiring in the pit lane, so we already have 7 drivers out of the race. That's a lot of drivers out. 6 drivers out of the race. 14 runners left. Cameron retired in the pit lane though, so no problems on track for him. And let's look at the top 2, the top 3. They are all close on track. Davy now has the prime opportunity to make a move on the Turkish driver. Black Box wants to get on as well. Black Box is pushing all the ERS he has. He doesn't have any ERS left. Now Black Box is side by side with Yagizan. No, he is not, but Davey got past Yagizan. Yagizan, now a 3-second time penalty. Black Box wanted to go side by side with Yagizan. Couldn't manage it, but now is behind Yagizan once again. He has the DRS. He is pushing all the DRS he has. Will he make the move? No, he won't. And this is crucial for Davey. Davey now can create a gap to Black Box to go out of the 1 second DRS range that Black Box needs to keep up with Davey. If Yagizan can't keep up with Davey, Black Box might have a problem here. As Sven has retired in the pit lane as well. A lot of retirees in this race. I think Yagizan will have the benefit of the DRS this lap, so no problem yet for Black Box. Looking at the ERS level for Yagizan, Yagizan has 19%, 70% now, so ever more decreasing. Black Box is looming behind, trying to take a position. Black Box looks like he isn't pushing. Yagizan isn't pushing as well. Looking at Davey. Davey has almost 40% of ERS left, so he's leading. It also has the most percentage of ERS left. So that's good news from him. The only thing that might worry him is the fact that Yagizan on his old softs can't keep up with him. And it's pretty close here in front. Milan just dropping off slightly more. Star of qualifying now in the race, down to P4, behind his teammate Black Box, who's come from P7 on the grid now to fight for the win in this race. Yagizan is losing his grip, and you can see Black Box getting ever closer to the Turkish driver. Now trying to get the slingshot perfectly off this corner. Can he make the move on the Turkish driver? Yagizan not being able to complete the move on Davey. And Davey can defend if he needs to. He has 30% of ERS left. And I don't think Black Box is going to make the move. No, he won't. He's just holding on to the little bit of ERS he has. Might be able. Oh, as the Mercedes of Milan is off in turn 1, promoting Janssen into P4, Rowan in P5, Damian in P6, and Fruitful getting through as well. But the Mercedes of Milan off the track, and now in P8, after starting on pole position, having overheated his tires as well. You can see he's just skating around on the track. As now Meneer van den Bergen is trying to get a move on Milan. Oh no! They've crashed! Milan is out. Meneer van den Bergen and Milan was side by side at the hairpin. And that's the safety car. So the safety car is out here at Portugal. Both drivers retire from the race. Milan and Meneer van den Bergen talking about Milan and having a bad race. Now is out once again. He did it a few races ago, and now once again is out of the race. I don't think that was his fault, but it just was a racing incident from what I could see. Kaya now promoted up into P10 with Joey in P13 in the pit lane. Davey in the pit lane, Yagizan in the pit lane, Black Box in the pit lane. So they will go for a new set of tires. Where will they go to? Black Box on towards the soft compound as Damiano goes through into the lead of the race. So from the last position on the grid, he is now leading the Portuguese Grand Prix, and Davey comes out in P2. So it's a McLaren 1-2. They are leading the Constructors' Championship, and now it's a 1-2 for them as well. Yagizan in P3 and Black Box in P4. Both championship protagonists having the soft compound on their car. And Damiano on his old mediums. Yagizan in the middle on new mediums. So might this be role reversal from the situation we saw during the first dry stint? Let's call it the second dry stint we have now after the safety car. Might it be a role reversal with Yagizan on the medium tires and Davy and Blackbox on the soft tires? Will the tires drop off and might Yagizan be able to use his medium tires at the end of this stint to try to go for another win here in TFL? Okay, so Meneer van den Bergen has left the session after colliding with Milan. Joey now in P11, Kaya in P10, Borrell in P9, Mika in P8, so then it's Fruitful in P7, Rowan in P6, Janssen in P5, Blackbox in P4, and then your top 3, Yagizan and the 2 McLarens in front, Davy and then Damiano. And I expect Damiano to drop off immediately after the safety car comes in, if he won't come in at this moment, because he is on such old tires compared to the guys behind him that he would be overtaken left, right and center when the safety car comes in. We are waiting for Kaya to go to the back of the grid to slot in behind Paul. Joey is in the mix. He's in P11 behind the leader, so he is a lap down. He can't overtake Damiano and the safety car as Rowan and Fruitful are side by side. That has resolved itself. But he can't overtake the safety car as that mechanic is not in the game. So in real life you say you're behind the safety car, you're a lap down, and then you get a message, left cars may now overtake. That is not in this game. So Joey is in P11, stays in P11, as Kaya has gotten to the back of the grid, is now behind Paul. So I think the top 10 is pretty safe for a points finish, if they will finish. So in this race we've lost Julian, Jars, Charles, Jerry van Bussel, Yüksel, Cameron, Sven, Meneer van den Bergen and Milan. Due to crashes and all sorts of things happening behind. As the safety car now comes into the pit lane. So safety car in this lap. Damiano has a time penalty. Yagizan has a time penalty. So if Yagizan would want to win this race, he needs to get a move on after overtaking Davy later on in the race. If he can even do that on his medium tires. So let's see. And let's await the safety car restart. Joey immediately would get blue flag. So he would get out of the way of the top 10 as we wait for Damiano to get on the power. He's still weaving around. He's not deciding to go on the power yet. Let's look in the bottom right hand corner to the throttle pedal. Now he goes onto the power. It's a good restart from Damiano. Davy gets a good restart as well. Blackbox though dropping behind and now is being overtaken by the Ferrari of Janssen. So Blackbox losing a position at the restart. Yagizan losing a position as well. Janssen into P3 and he holds on to P3. But Blackbox trying to get the position on Yagizan as he does on the soft compound. Is making the soft compound work as Janssen now trying to overtake Damiano is in P2 in the race. Janssen in P2 in the Ferrari and Blackbox trying to overtake Damiano as well. Damiano in the old mediums. Blackbox trying to go for the inside is making the dive bomb and he is side by side with Damiano in the McLaren. He is pushing a little bit of ERS to not lose a lot of time to the train in front. And he can't make the move as of yet. So Damiano holding up his black box. Damiano playing the team game for Davy. Black box a few times behind. And it's all sorts of kerfuffle going on around. It's very close here. As you can see, Black box is pushing Damiano out of the final corner. Let's go on board with the United Kingdom driver. He's now right behind Damiano. Damiano is pushing his ERS to defend the position for Davy, it seems, as he will try to get a McLaren win here in Portugal. Black Box can't overtake the McLaren as of yet. Still though, the McLaren has the worst traction out of these two. Black Box on the fresh, soft tires will go for the inside of the hairpin and make a little bit of contact now. Damiano defends and Black Box goes for the outside. He can't overtake the McLaren driver yet. Yagizan behind can't make a move on Black Box, so there's still information. Damiano 1.3 seconds behind Johnson in the Ferrari is losing time on his older mediums, and this is exactly what Davy wants to see leading the race. Let's look at Mika. They're side by side with Rowan. Mika around the outside. Rowan now goes a bit deep. Can Mika apply the throttle earlier? No, he can't. He's still behind Rowan. And Rowan in P7. Joey gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting warnings. Now Black Box once again on the rear of Damiano. Can he now get a move on the McLaren? Damiano has 38% of ERS left. He is pushing. He's pushing ever more. And now he's stopping to push, but Damiano holds on to P3. Black Box can't make the move as of yet, but might try the move going into the hairpin at the next DRS straight. And that's in a few corners time. He's on the rear of the car of Damiano. Now, is he pushing his ERS? Yes, he is. He is using the DRS. Can he go around the outside of Damiano? He tries to go around the outside. Tries now to get the switchback, but there's a little bit of contact, and that might not result in an overtake for Black Box, but he tries to go around the outside. Now tries to get the switchback. He can't get the switchback done. Damiano still holds on to P3 as the gap between Damiano and Janssen increases ever more to 2.1 seconds. Janssen very close behind Davy for the lead. Can Janssen maybe try to go for the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix as Damiano holds up Black Box, and Black Box losing a lot of time here, can't get past the McLaren. And looking at the train behind, they're all being held up by the McLaren. So Black Box needs to get a move on. This is a prime opportunity for Black Box. Damiano does not have the DRS. Black Box does have the DRS. Can he make the move on the McLaren work? He goes side by side with him. Yagizan is in the mix as well. Yagizan goes for the inside in turn 1 as Black Box goes into the podium positions. Yagizan is ahead of Damiano as Fruitful now goes for the inside of Damiano. He's a sitting duck on the straight. Now Rowan in the Williams goes for the move as well. But Damiano holds on to P5 for now. Red Bull off. Fruitful goes for the inside on Damiano. Damiano losing on for another position. He's still side by side with Fruitful. He can't make the move work. That's a little bit of contact. Damiano slots in behind Fruitful, and he's relegated down a few positions as there's contact between Mika and Damiano. Mika now goes for the move after making a little bit of contact with the McLaren driver, and he's ahead. Now Rowan losing positions to his Williams teammate, Burrell, and that means Rowan is now in P9. And VR Mika tries to go around the outside of Rowan. There's a little bit of contact, but Rowan holds on to P9 as Jagi's on a Fruitful in a battle, and it's so close here for P4 in the race. Look at all these drivers in this train, and it's Fruitful that's trying to apply the pressure on Yagizan with the medium tires, but Mika is now side by side with the Red Bull driver. He's pushing his ERS. They're both pushing their ERS. They're opening the DRS, and Fruitful into P4. He's side by side with Mika, and Mika is into P5 as Damiano is now spun around at turn 1. As the drama continues, they're making a lot of move on each other, and Damiano had one move too many, is spun around at turn 1, while the Williams drivers are still side by side. Rowan now into P7, go around the outside of the hairpin after the DRS zone, and it's still side by side with the teammate Burrell, and it's Rowan in P7, and VR Mika is looming behind to take P8 from the Burrell, from the Williams of Burrell. Kaya can't make the move work as Janssen is still very close behind Davy for the lead of the race. Remember, he has the DRS, Davy does not have the DRS, so Janssen can make a move on Davy if he wants to, but Davy has a superior level of ERS left in his engine and his car, and is able to defend if Janssen wants to try to make a move. But let's look behind. Mika is now trying to make the move on Fruitful. Fruitful is not pushing the ERS because he does not have any ERS. Now it's Mika back into P4, and the Alpine moves into the top 4 with Fruitful relegated down 1 position. Yagizan on the medium tires is able to hold on. As Fruitful goes a bit wide, can Yagizan make the move on the Red Bull driver? Let's go on board with it. He is pushing his ERS. Fruitful tries to defend the inside into the hairpin, and Yagizan tries to go around the outside. Can he hold on? He goes a bit off track, is pushed wide by Fruitful, but that's fair racing. He's still side by side with Fruitful, but Fruitful holds on to the position as both drivers struggle to manage the level of ERS, but Fruitful still ahead as Joey gets another 3-second time penalty. Rowan is now pushing for the move on Yagizan. He's side by side with him, and he tries to go for the move on Fruitful as well, but he made the move work on Yagizan. He's pushed a little bit wide, but he's into P6. Now, once again, behind his old teammate Fruitful in P5. Fruitful does not have the DRS from Mika at this moment in time, and I don't think he'll have it at the detection point. No, he won't. So, Rowan has the DRS, and Fruitful does not have the DRS. Can Rowan make the move on Fruitful? Fruitful's already blinking, so his ERS levels are pretty low. But Rowan's aren't high either, as now Rowan gets in front of Fruitful. And behind, Yagizan and Kaya in the AlphaTauris are fighting as well. Kaya up to P7, overtaking Yagizan with the medium tires, and there will come a point in this race that the medium tires will start to improve. And the big question for me is, will there come a point in this race where it will start to rain again? Will the condition change once again, as we saw with the forecast in the previous race that was cancelled due to a glitch at the start? Will we see drops of rain hitting the circuit in the Algarve once again, as we saw at the start of the race? And still, this train is so close. Can anyone make a move? As Damiano on his 17 lap on medium tires is struggling to keep by. You can see he's losing a grip after spinning out at turn 1. Now Kaya on the rear of Fruitful. Fruitful is not able to hold on with Rowan. He does have the DRS. Kaya does not have any ERS left. Fruitful has the inside, keeps P6 for now, but Kaya, can he go for the move? No, he can't. Now Kaya gets an awesome run going out of that corner. Has the DRS on Fruitful. Fruitful has to defend, does not have the DRS. Fruitful forces him to the inside of the hairpin, but he gets ahead. Kaya now into P6. Fruitful still around the outside. Regains the position off track. That's pretty fair racing if you ask me, because Kaya pushed him a little bit wide, but Fruitful did get 3 seconds worth of time penalties for the move he made. Yagizan now 1.5 tenths behind Fruitful. He is going for the move on Fruitful. Can he make the move work? He's still side by side with the Red Bull driver, and now Red Bull driver goes for the move. He tries to hold on to his P7, but now Yagizan is the inside line, and he is up to P7. So Yagizan regaining the position on Fruitful. And look at the clouds in the sky. It is starting to get darker here in the Algarve, as Fruitful once again tries to go for a move on Yagizan, trying to get a position back. They're side by side at the start finish line, and side by side into turn 1. Yagizan off track. Still, Fruitful has the inside line, and now it's back into P7, but Yagizan has the inside line for the next corner, and is back into P7, as Fruitful once again goes off the track, bit forced wide by Yagizan, but Ball is in the fight as well. Now, Yagizan a bit squeezed by both drivers, and is now behind them. Can Ball, though, make the move on Fruitful around the outside? No, he can't, and Yagizan almost going into the back of Borrell, but Fruitful holding on to P7, and once again not having the DRS from Kaya, which puts him a sitting duck on the straight. Can Yagizan make the move on Borrell? No, he won't. And I'm very interested in the weather. When will it start to rain here at the Algarve circuit? It's still getting darker and darker and darker. But when will the rain hit? Ball now, flashing with the light. And I think I see rain. Yes, there is rain. Rain hitting the circuit at this moment in time. So that will mean the cars would have to box or gamble to stay out on the slick tire in the hopes that it would not intensify. And Damiano is gambling for the Inters. I think that's a little bit too soon. And he's on his way now on the Inter tires. I think that's a little bit too soon, but he can make the gamble because he's in P10. He was still in P10. He is still in P10. Joey won't overtake him because he's a bit further down the field and also a lap down. Which cars will head into the pit lane? Now the gap stabilizing a little bit. Borrell still very close to Yagizan in front. The soft tires, if this rain will intensify, have made the best bet for the shorter stint instead of the medium tires that aren't as fast at this moment in time as the soft tires. They are now getting to a level that the medium tires are as fast as the soft tires, but the soft tires have the advantage the entire first stint, as Rowan is the first of the cars to enter the pit lane, so he's going for a gamble, as is Yagizan, going into the pit lane one lap earlier, I think, than most drivers will do. I think the majority of the drivers will now head into the pit lane this next lap. But will Rowan, Yagizan, Damiano have the advantage of the Inter tires in this moment in time? Are the Inters at this point in time faster than the softs? That's the question that arises. And looking at Rowan, he is losing time to Ball in front on the intermediate tires. And it's 20.5 seconds at the moment. And it remains around that gap. Yeah, it's 20.6. He's losing a little bit of time. But it is around the point where the intermediates are getting faster. As now Janssen is losing a bit of time to Davy. Will Davy head into the pit lane? DRS is disabled, so that is the signal for the drivers to head into the pit lane. Davy is now heading into the pit lane, as is Janssen. Black Box is heading into the pit lane as well, and I think every one of the remaining drivers will head into the pit lane. Let's look at Rowan. And he is now massively gaining on Borrell. He was in P5 when boxing. Can he get in front? And looking at Borrell, he continued on his way on the soft tires. He did not box, so he's gambling to stay out. Oh, as Rowan almost loses his car, he's gambling to stay out on the soft tires. I don't think that will be the fastest strategy, but let's see if he's right. Mika getting out in front of Rowan, so Rowan losing a position, but immediately trying to get the position back on Mika. Mika around the outside, onto the gravel almost, and Rowan now into P5 once again. So Rowan back into P5. And looking at Borrell, no, he's massively losing. For a moment I thought Borrell is extending his gap in front, but looking at the timing sheets on the left hand side, Davy is catching massively on Borrell. And Fruitful in P9 is catching up to Yagizan. He lost out in the pit lane to a few cars. Now he's in P9. Can he get past the Turkish driver once again? He was in front for a long duration of this race. For the longest part of the dry stint. And now the move for the lead of the race has already been made. Davy overtook Borrell, coming out of the final corner, and now Borrell into the pit lane. No, he won't go into the pit lane. So Borrell thinks staying out is the best thing to do. I don't think it's the best thing to do for Borrell, as now Janssen is putting pressure on the Williams driver and is already past the Williams driver, having no grip at all. Borrell needs to box this lap to get any sort of result out of the race, as Janssen now is suffering from a little bit of understeer. Now Black Box is side by side with Janssen. Janssen relegated down to P3, which means Black Box is into P2 as Rowan makes a move for Borrell, makes a move for P4 on Borrell. Of course, Borrell having no grip whatsoever. But heading back to Black Box, he's 2.3 behind Davy. So he's in P2. He is losing out to Davy in the championship as it stands, so he will be 7 points more down on him. The current gap is 9 points. As it stands, the gap will extend to 16 points at the top of the championship, as Kara gets a 3-second time penalty. Black Box has a time penalty. Let's look at the different time penalties. 3 seconds for Black Box and Rowan. Mika also has 3 seconds. Kaya 9 seconds. Yagizan 3 seconds. And 6 for Fruitful, 12 for Borrell, 3 for Damiano. So he will get the position on Borrell for sure. And it's Joey in P11 with 12 seconds, but he's a lap down. Borrell still is out on the soft tires, I think. Yes, he's still out on the soft tires. Fruitful now once again gets a 3-second time penalty. Janssen still is in provisional P2 with the penalty that Black Box has. So Black Box, for the sake of the championship, needs to get a move on to get out of the 3-second gap to Janssen. And he's almost done that already. The gap is at 2.8. As Black Box is gaining and gaining and gaining on Davy, but still it is not for position, as Davy does not have the time penalty and Black Box has, but Black Box seems in a league of his own in the wet. Now Rowan behind Janssen as well, as Janssen is 3 seconds down on Black Box. Milan has left the session. Rowan can overtake Janssen and might be able to get a 3-second gap on Janssen, but that would be very close till the checker flag, and I think Janssen will hold on to that gap. Let's go on board with Janssen. He's pushing all of his ERS, and he can't keep. He keeps Rowan behind. Rowan in P4. Let's look on board with Black Box, because he's gaining and gaining on Davy, but I don't think it's enough. Can he maybe push Davy into a mistake by putting him under pressure as Joey comes up, as this yellow sector 2? What has happened there? Rowan and Janssen and Mika in a battle. I think there has been an incident with Janssen. What has happened? Janssen does not have any fuel whatsoever! Janssen out of fuel and is overtaken left, right and center. He is ghosted, so everyone will overtake him. He does not have any fuel left in this race, so he's out. Can he hold on though to P10 for a points paying position? Borrell is 25 seconds down on Janssen. Remember, Borrell is on the soft compound. I don't think these tires are faster than a Ferrari on Inters with no fuel. I think Janssen will hold on to P10 without any fuel. But who's holding on to the victory is Davy. He went to TFL once again. He is P1 with his championship rival Black Box. Now the gap at the top of the championship, 16 points in favor of Davy. Rowan in P3 for his first race and his first podium in TFL. Mika in P4 and his Yagizan in P5. Kaya in P6. P7 for Fruitful as he has spun around at the start finish. Damiano finishes in P8, just 18 thousandths of a second slower are behind Fruitful after time penalties had been applied. Janssen in P9 holds on to P9, and Bol now getting to the finish line on his soft tires. But Davy winning once again in TFL in P1. And that was a pretty interesting race, if you tell me. Joey, 20-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flag. What has happened there, as now Bol has retired from the session, has crossed the line. And looking at the track, I think it is drying up just at the moment the race has ended. But Rowan, driver of the day, coming from P19 on the grid, winning the Portuguese Grand Prix, however, is Davy in the McLaren. Well done to Davy for another win here in TFL, extending his championship gap. And Black Box in P2. And would have been all the way around, that of course would have shrunk the gap at the top of the championship. And now it's a 16-point deficit for Black Box. And let's invite Rowan, Black Box, and our winner Davy to the party. So let's go into the party and go for the interview with Davy. Black Box and Rowan, who have all been invited to the party as we wait for the drivers to enter. A few drivers without any penalty whatsoever. One of them are winner today, Davy, and the other one being Janssen, I think it was. But Davy winning the race. Davy, congratulations. Awesome race. Let's just talk about the final few laps. Did you think, and there's the man in P2, as Rowan has joined the party as well. Davy, did you think Black Box could have gone any closer and could have overtaken you if the race was one lap longer? Because he got very close at the end.
Yeah, I was, how was I? I drive safely to get no warnings.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was fast in the rain, that's true. But overtaking is difficult on this track in the rain.
Yeah. So you just managed it to the end. Awesome job by you. Black Box, congratulations on P2. Just the championship gap now to 16 points in favor of Davy, but you minimized the damage from P7, I think. Awesome recovery. Just sum up your race from P7.
Right, yeah, I mean, it was a bad qualifying for me. I messed up the lap, but the race was going pretty well. But annoying phase of the race was when I was stuck behind Damiano. Yeah, he wouldn't let me through. I knew he wouldn't let me through to help Davy, but my pace in the wet was really good, and I thought I had an unfair penalty, so that's why I was pushing and pushing.
Yeah, that was
one more lap, and I think I had him. He says it's hard to overtake, but you know me, I'll overtake anywhere. So I mean, and I'm still gonna win this championship, but it's just a small bump in the road.
You're very confident that you win this championship, but Davy now leading the championship with 16 points, and the gap is still very close at the top. And the final 3 rounds, I think it will be a spectacle for who wins the championship. Julian with the DNF a bit further behind. Let's not forget Rowan in P3. Rowan, absolutely magnificent job coming from P19 on the grid. You were a bit in a battle with, I remember your old teammate from BNL, Fruitful. You were in a battle with Damiano. Tell us, how was your race coming from the back of the grid?
Yeah, awesome. I missed quali because of work, and starting P19, already gained 5 positions in the first lap, and just gaining time every lap on the car in front, and trying to overtake is really difficult with DRS trains, but it went pretty well. And last few laps I had to send it, Mika coming out from the pits, and I had to send it down the inside, and it worked. So happy to be P3 after qualifying P19, after misqualifying.
Driver of the race for me, certainly.
Thank you.
Amazing race. Guys, I think that's it for today. awesome moves by all of you, and congratulations to the top 3. We'll see you again in Davey, 1 week time, 2 weeks time, I think next week, right?
One week Imola.
Yes, in 1 week we have the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and tune in for that race because the championship battle is heating up, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, and I hope you are too. I hope you enjoyed this race, and guys, any of you want to say anything?
Later.
Later, Mike.
Later, Davey. Later, guys, at home, and see you for the next stream next week at Friday. Thank you for tuning in, everyone.